I'm looking for a star, that next graduate who's really going to make a name for themselves in the games industry.
That's tough.
You actually need to create a game.
There is no way he made this in 2 weeks.
There were some really fun games in there.
Uh-oh, that's a big one.
There's a lot of hype around the game from the judges.
Oh, I like this.
So it starts off rather simply, where it's just following a path along and you reach the goal at the end.
And some not so fun games in there.
By the end of it, it was just infeasible in the time I had left.
It's not really showing off any skills.
I think if I'd have downloaded this, I'd be deleting it pretty quickly.
An interview is the appropriate way to really dig into them.
Oh God.
Not getting interviewed by two people, we're getting a real squadron of tech directors and lead programmers, so it's really tough.
Could you have made use of polymorphism?
I'm not sure what polymorphism is.
I don't really understand why a studio would want to hire someone who's a bit of a loner, difficult, and steps on toes when he does interact with other people. Why does a company need that?
I don't think it does.
I'd like to win this competition because I get a chance then to work in a top games company.
This competition can really propel the best graduates to the best jobs.
This is definitely the biggest interview I've ever had.
It seems like it's going to be quite tough. I think my parents weren't too sure when I said I wanted to go into the games industry. They were more supportive possibly for going into computer science, but they said I should go for it. Take a computer games programming course at Northumbria.
Lewis is just one of thousands of young people who've gone to university to learn the skills required to create computer games.
This is the level design, this is how I create everything. I can literally drag and drop in from the right hand side.
And then as you move down into the second wave, there'll be an enemy on the left. Your score is determined by the distance at the top here. For me, I decided to make games in secondary school.
Though their computer skills could earn them more elsewhere, they've chosen to follow their dreams of becoming video game creators.
I was never actually content with just playing the games. I wanted to know what was going on behind it. When they first see it, that's when people start having fun. It just really makes you feel good about what you've created and makes it all worthwhile.
Thankfully for the thousands of students like these, the UK is home to a vibrant game creation industry, responsible for many of the most innovative and successful titles on the planet. But competition for jobs in Britain's dream factories is fierce.
I think very few students actually end up in the games industry because it's very competitive.
Oh, it would be fantastic. It would be everything.
Now a group of the UK's leading game studios have backed a unique competition to help them attract the next generation of creative talent vital to their future.
The companies that support Search for a Star, they are some of the largest UK studios.
I'm looking for that next graduate who's really going to make a name for themselves in the games industry.
It's a very good way of seeing the best graduates.
The competition works. The people who enter it get jobs and we get really good developers.
Over 400 students from 30 different universities across the UK and Europe have entered.
Come and challenge me and see who has the best game design.
We followed a group of these determined young men and women.
It's my dream. All I need is to be given a shot.
If it goes well, I've got work in the games industry, which is something I've been working towards my whole life.
When you have that dream and you see it and you're so close to it, and you just have to work for it.
To find out just what it takes to land a job in this unique industry. They'll be tested to see if they have the technical skills required.
Okay, everybody, start your test now.
So this is the first round of the competition, which is a C++ test.
You can't hide when you're answering a question with C++.
Then they'll have just 2 weeks to create a game by themselves that must impress industry professionals from the studios they hope to join.
It's not perfect.
It's not really showing off any skills.
I think if I'd have downloaded this, I'd be deleting it pretty quickly.
And the best will be invited to Microsoft's headquarters to face the job interview from hell.
Oh God.
You still have that weakness over other candidates. Why should you be in that team over them?
And then what's really great about it is the judges get to fight between themselves of who actually wants to recruit this graduate.
The game that he made was brilliant and I got to about level 15 on that. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, do we have a winner?
The winners will be crowned at a glittering awards ceremony in front of an audience of the world's leading game developers.
The biggest fear will be seeing the other competitors and seeing what they produce.
I have actually looked into some of the other games. Some of them are quite good. It seems like it's going to be quite tough.
If I could come out on top of this and I could say, well, you know, I'm the person you've got to watch out for, that'd be amazing. That'd be fantastic.
Join us on a journey inside Britain's most technically demanding creative industry.
If you have skill without passion, you're a bit boring. If you have passion without skill, you're incompetent.
This one's a really simple counting circuit, so we've got 2 places to store data, and then 1 place where we're doing the calculation, which is here.
Showing how microchips work at a Bristol University Open Day is our first competitor, Nick Pearson.
A year ago, the creators of the competition, Aardvark Swift, they came in and gave a talk at the university titled Get in the Game. And then as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to go to that talk and find out what you needed to do to get in the industry.
Strong at maths, when he graduates with a computer science degree, Nick could probably get a lucrative job in the city, but he's convinced a career in games would be more rewarding.
When you create something like a game, it has a massive difference compared to creating a lot of other things. People's impressions when they first see it, perhaps when people start having fun, it just really makes you feel good about what you've created and makes it all worthwhile.
As well as games, Nick has 2 other loves.
If you can tell, I am actually a massive tube geek, so we've got the tube map bedding and the 1936 tube map on the wall as well. In some of these lines there's a lot of old stations that you can actually still see the remains of as you pass through. They're called ghost stations, and there's something really dramatic about that. So I typically do a lot of card magic. It's quite easy to create tricks to do with cards and to learn from them. The one that everyone does on TV is, see if I can do that. This, round there. No. Something like that. That's what everyone does on TV.
Tonight is the Bristol University Law Society ball, and Nick has been drafted in to help create a magical atmosphere.
Now mate, were you really trying? Let's be honest here. I'm not sure if you truly believe in magic. Okay, do you truly believe in magic?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Really believe in magic.
Well, maybe we'll give this one more go. So if I go 1, 2, 3,
yeah.
You say abracadabra in the most enthusiastic, believe in magic way possible.
Yeah.
So ready? 1, 2, 3.
Abracadabra.
Oh. Did you feel the magic then?
I felt it.
You felt it. Oh. So you did it wrong again. I think.
I'm not magic
sorry.
though.
I think I know. It's my mistake. I'm so sorry. I did only put one red card in this pack. I'm so sorry. Was your card, by any chance, was your card a 10?
Yes.
Not the same as this 10, was it? Yeah. There we go. Thank you very much. You're very kind. And the brilliant thing about this isn't like a scratch and sniff card. That's a real card. You can play a whole game of cards with that.
Over 100 different universities from across Europe are represented in this year's competition, including the Netherlands' NHTV, from which our next contestant hails. This isn't Jan's first time in the competition. Last year he beat all other first and second year students to be crowned Rising Star. His prize was a placement at the makers of Little Big Planet 3, Sumo Digital.
He won the opportunity for an internship here.
Hi, my name is Jan.
And Jan was joined at Sumo by the overall winner, Sam Paris.
They're both working under me on the project that I'm on.
Like a lot of people, they have to fear when they start an internship, they turn into the coffee machine barista. That's definitely not been my experience so far. The only coffee I've made was for myself.
I believe he's working on a Disney Infinity project for the next generation hardware.
Yeah, they've settled in nicely. They're playing games with the rest of us at lunchtime, as we do. Probably shouldn't be admitting that, but yes, we're a computer games company. We like to play in our spare time.
After learning from industry legends at a top developer, Jan's aiming to prove last year wasn't a fluke, and he can take top honours again, this time in the competition for final year students.
The way that I went into the competition last year worked out pretty well for me, so I think I'm just gonna repeat that for this time. Give it a go and have fun, basically.
Before Jan, Nick and any of the hundreds of other students who entered this year's competition can progress, they have to sit a 1-hour test of their coding skills.
With the numbers that we're dealing with, we needed to come up with something that we could do en masse.
Okay everybody, start your test now.
So this is the first round of the competition, which is a C++ test, which lasts an hour.
Because that's typically what coders will face when they go for their first job in video games.
You can't hide when you're answering a question with C++.
Bristol University don't actually teach C++, but Nick wasn't going to let that stop him.
I had to learn C++ for this competition. Before the test, I spent around a week really intensely looking at C++ problems, learning the particular semantics of which words you use where and what the library functions were. that's what I needed to learn to get through the test.
So, did it work? Well, out of all first and second year students, Nick ranked 15th. Jan went one higher, coming 14th amongst final year students. For both, it was enough to progress to round 2.
One of the biggest criticisms of graduates when they hit the market is they do not have a finished product in their portfolio. So we give the students the chance to start, develop and then finish and actually publish a game on the Windows Phone.
Along with 40 other students who have made it through the code test and into round 2, Nick has been sent the source code for a very basic space shooter game.
It's kind of Space Invader style. Everything is just a little arrow and you're an arrow that's fighting other arrows.
Now the contestants have just 2 weeks to transform this into something special.
That's tough. Make a game that's of publishable quality in 2 weeks is a very tough challenge.
Whenever I've done anything in the past, it's always just been a personal project. So I've just allowed it to develop as time goes on and just add whatever I feel like for that week. Because this is such a set deadline, I should probably make a more solid plan, implement a list of things rather than just go off and do what I want. Otherwise I'll end up with something with a really complicated back-end system and it won't actually do anything interesting.
It's the end of the 2 weeks, and Nick has submitted his game, Smuggler's Paradise. So did his list making work?
So I'm just about to show you what I managed to create at the end of the 2-week period. I'm quite proud of it, so if I had a bit more time I'd have added a few more things onto the main menu, but at the moment you can create a new game. You start out on this planet, so you get to choose any of these contracts to actually take. So rum is actually really valuable, so I'll take that one. And these ones that will go to the same place. And here's the page where you buy extra engines, which I can't actually afford at the moment. If I choose this planet, it's quite a long way away. I can then take off with that stuff. You've got to be quite careful because once you've run out of fuel, you essentially can't move at all. So once you're in space, drag is very low, which means that your fuel can last you a very long time. But before that, you've got to be really careful about the way you use the fuel and the way you sort of move around in the game.
How much did you get done?
I think I got about 3/4 done that I actually planned. I had a whole section where I'd love to include pirates that would come and take your stuff while you were trying to fly to places, but by the end of it, it was just infeasible in the time I had left to add those. Once you've made it to the planet, you just click on the contract and you can get your money. I spent a lot of time working on the project, and at this point, if I didn't get through, I'd be really disappointed with what I'd achieved. It really means a lot.
Jan had no such problems getting his game done in the time.
I like doing game jams and projects like that, and for those you really have to think on your feet. Maybe something doesn't work out the way you want to, you need to change some features around. And I try to imply that same mentality also to longer form projects. So this is my game Airguns. It's basically a throwback to the scrolling shooters I used to play. It's got a ship, it's got some scrolling actions, and it's got a lot of enemies that you need to shoot down. The ship is always firing, there's really no reason not to shoot anything that comes towards you. Everything is aggressive, there's a lot of bullets, a lot of explosions, a lot of loud noises. I really tried to make a very intensely aggressive game out of this. I use very simple colors, partially because I'm not an artist, and partially also because I want to keep the game clear even if a lot of bullets start flying around. I have multiple levels. Each level introduces one or more new enemy types, such as these tanks here. So here there is a new type of enemy. These are gunships. They go in very preset patterns. They have a specific curve which you can recognize and try to sort of plan for. They take quite a lot of bullets to take them down, and they can also aim at the player, which is kind of annoying sometimes.
With all the games complete, it's now time to decide who has done enough to make it through to the third and final stage of the competition. A team of studios across the country is carrying out this task, including Sumo Digital, Furious Bee Games, and Playground Games, producers of Forza Horizon.
Okay, Airguns.
Software engineers Paul Pearson and Tom Perry are assessing Jan's game.
So I like the art style. It's simple, but it's effective, especially if you're a team of programmers, you don't have an artist. This kind of thing can be good.
Yeah, there's good explosion effects. The polygons. There's a good screen shake as well, I like
Yeah,
that.
it's
I
pretty
like
cool.
that, it gives a nice impact to the explosions. I like the fact that there's a nice variety to the attack waves and the way the bullets are coming down, that's good. And there's levels as well, it's always nice to have levels, it makes you feel like you're making progress. Alright, let's see what level 2 brings. So new enemy types, that's good. I'd like to see some upgrades for the weapons,
Yeah.
it's constant shooting rate. There doesn't feel like much tactics in the game.
There isn't too many game mechanics to it. I think that it is just moving left and right. However, it is for that it's pretty engaging considering that's all you do. It'd be nice to, as Paul said, maybe have the player progress a little by upgrading their weapons or allowing some sort of power-ups, something like that. Just something to break the
Like a
monotony of
strategy
just
element,
but just break the monotony of going left and right, really. Cool.
Meanwhile, in Brighton, at Boss Alien, the producers of CSR Racing, technical director and Search for a Star judge, Thaddeus Frogley has been playing Nick's Smuggler's Paradise.
Smuggler's Paradise was an interesting one. The developer had obviously been very ambitious and he'd thought about how the game will play over hours and days rather than seconds and minutes. Unfortunately, it was also quite buggy. Getting your rocket to the next planet didn't work very well. In a nutshell, that developer needed like another couple of months and they could have probably just dropped the launch a rocket bit and just had a trading game that people would play. It was a very menu-y game. It didn't really stand out as a programming achievement, more of a design ambition.
If Nick is going to make it to the final, he can only hope other judges don't share Thad's views.
Right then.
Another game under review is Planet Gunner, created by Sheffield Hallam second year Jack Spink.
Right, so Planet Gunner. We fire our cannon and we have to stay alive as long as possible. So there's some chip-tune music coming in, I can hear that. Nothing yet to shoot. Oh,
So is it up there?
there we go.
It's sort of a mixture between.
So we've got animated stars in the background that are moving, like a star field. It's an interesting take to be a planet shooting rather than a spaceship.
Yeah. Concept is unique. It's nice. It's different to the others.
Well, that's a fast asteroid.
Good. You got hyper speeds. So
Everything's slowing down there. So that's a nice, interesting use of. That might come in useful in the later enemy attack waves.
Only on wave 3.
The one thing I say is that there's long periods of time when nothing is happening on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get that. Oh, it's tough to hit those. Be nice to have less quantized directions to shoot from.
It's not very pick up and play.
Yeah, I'd like to see some upgrades as well with the weapons, so we could have some choice of what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
In Huddersfield at Red Kite Games, technical director and judge Andrew Greensmith is also trying out Planet Gunner.
Ah, here we go, there's more enemies turning up now. Could do with some more enemies to be shooting when hyperspeed's on, or maybe there should be an enemy that takes more hits. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a fast forward as well, just to bring them in a little bit quicker. Oh well, I like it. It's a fun game. I could happily play this.
It's finals day. Of the 400 university students that entered the code competition, 40 made it through to stage 2, where they created a game in just 2 weeks. Those games have been assessed. Now the 40 have been whittled down to just 10, who have been invited to Microsoft's Reading HQ to face an intensive grilling by a panel of industry experts to find out who has what it takes to make it as a games programmer. A good performance here could mean a job or an internship at one of the UK's leading game studios. And the good news is that amongst the 10 who have made it to finals day are Jan and Jack. But what of magician Nick? Well, none of the judges enjoyed the experience of playing his frankly unfinished game, Smuggler's Paradise. But when they looked under the hood, one did find something they liked.
They've used advanced features that other people hadn't used, so things like encapsulation, good code reuse.
So, despite producing a dud game, his use of advanced coding techniques means Nick joins Jan and Jack in the final 10. Just one hurdle remains between them and their goal of becoming a professional games programmer. First to face the judges is final year student Jan, who has the added pressure of being last year's Rising Star winner.
If I fail here, or if I do really badly here, it'll be kind of like the previous time was a fluke, mentally. So I want to try and prevent it.
What would happen if you called a virtual function on a class from within the class's constructor?
If it has an overwritten value somewhere, then it will overwritten function somewhere, then we'll try to call that one.
I don't think it will.
It does?
vtable is done inside the client's, at the end of the client's constructor. So even in the client's constructor, if you called a v function, it would call the base class.
Have you looked at C++11 at all?
Not much, I'm afraid.
How long have you been programming in C++?
A little over 4 years.
So C++11 has been standardized for the whole time you've been using C++.
So the term using in C# has a couple of uses. Can you describe the two?
I cannot recall it at this moment.
Do you understand the difference between C++ and C# with regard to destructors?
No.
Meanwhile, as he's only a second year student, magician Nick faces a different judging panel.
So, name that tune in one.
Asteroids?
Asteroids, good. Okay, so we need a collision detection system for our asteroids game. All of the objects can collide with all of the other objects.
Well, if you've got the radius of all the objects, you know when they're going to sort of start, finish.
Mm-hmm.
So the first start point, the top asteroid is sort of on the screen. If the next start point you encounter is any other object, so just considering the height values, then you can check those two and see if they've collided. And when you reach the end of that object, you know that there's no other collisions that object can make, so you can strike that off the list.
In order for that to work, what do you have to do with the objects?
You have to pre-evaluate where the start and finish points are.
And you'd have to sort.
Yes.
Not quite perfect, but maths whiz Nick is off to a reasonable start. And he hits his stride when asked to mathematically describe how long it will take to perform various sorting algorithms.
What do you think the time complexity of that something should be like?
N squared sort of level.
Yeah. So what's the complexity of the overall algorithm there?
N log n.
Yeah.
Now the judges want to know about Nick's C++ skills.
So you've done some C++?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Can you describe to us what you might use a virtual destructor for, and what might be the issues if you incorrectly or didn't use a virtual destructor?
If I'm remembering right, your virtual destructor, that would be something that's implemented all in sort of inherited classes. It's run when the object is destroyed.
Yes, so that's the destructor. So what's the specific function of the virtual part of that?
I'm not quite sure.
I think that's probably time.
The last few questions I wasn't so sure on. I think my not so complete knowledge of C++ might have shown, but I did answer all the questions. So
next to face the Rising Star panel is a confident Jack.
I'm feeling okay. I've spoken to a lot of people that calm me down a bit, made me less nervous than I would be. So pretty okay with going in.
So we've got a game that we've created. It's completely finished. It runs on a really high-end PC. So it's got the latest graphics card. It's got gigabytes worth of RAM. We now want to convert it to run on last generation console, the Xbox 360. What areas need the most work and why?
Graphic-wise, say if you've built this and it's running in 4K, something might not be able to handle that. So you need to, trying to think of a good word, de-res. Reduce the resolution of, say, the texture files that you're using.
What does reducing the resolution gain you?
All you're doing is taking up less space.
That's not all you're doing. There is another penalty for having high resolution textures.
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Not the impressive start Jack may have hoped for. Perhaps a more game-related test will allow him to shine.
This one is kind of about how you implement under the hood achievements in games. Okay. Say you've got a 2D platform or something where you're collecting objects as you go along. Of a certain type, you've got an achievement for if you manage to collect 5 of these objects in 10 seconds, you get the achievement. So if I pick one up after 1 second, then another one after 3, another one after 7, 9, and 10, I've collected 5 in 10 seconds, yeah? But what about if I get the last one after 12 seconds?
The time would check, say you've gone past 10 seconds, so now you're actually trying to get 5 in the next 10 seconds again. So once
So if I then got one after 13 seconds,
you would have 2, because so the first 4 happened before 10 seconds, and then when you get the next one, it's happened after 10 seconds have passed from the first getting.
but I've still collected those.
Oh, you have, yeah. That's a good point.
Okay, well, let's not spend too much time.
Is there anything you would do differently going in again?
I'd definitely prepare myself more. I wasn't thinking there'd be that many technical questions in there, but I think it's still all right.
Though Jack can now relax, Jan's interview is far from over.
If you had to give me your kind of flaws and weaknesses, what would you say your top 3 weaknesses are?
Lack of experience in.
I wouldn't say that was a weakness in a
pure.
graduate, though. I mean, it's assumed that all graduates would not have experience.
3 others. Socially, I find it difficult sometimes to approach people that I don't have a rapport with, especially if I need to ask them for a favor.
Okay.
There are areas of programming that I am less skilled in, less focused on. Something like networking.
That's not a character weakness, that's a skills. That's a lack of skills.
Oh, we're just talking character weaknesses.
Character weaknesses.
Character weaknesses, okay. I can get annoyed when I have a planning for myself and something unexpected interrupts it. 3, it's difficult. Usually I only have to list 1. And I sometimes step on toes. Like there's no malice behind it, but it's just like I am too quick to say as directly as possible what I'm thinking.
Okay. So, to be honest, Jan, I don't really understand why a professional studio would want to hire someone who's a bit of a loner, difficult or late to interact with others for help or give help, isn't agile, doesn't like to be distracted or kind of pull off course around this is where I'm going, what I'm doing, and steps on toes when he does interact with other people. Why does a company need that?
I don't think it does, and I think that those are definitely weaknesses that I need to work on.
The other candidates we've interviewed so far don't have these weaknesses. Why should you get a job?
I do have qualities that could mitigate these issues.
Sorry, mitigate as in reduce the significance of the weakness, or mitigate as in
reduce the amount of trouble it causes other people.
You still have that weakness over other candidates. Why should you be in that team over them?
That's a difficult one to say without knowing their specific answers. I think it would be mainly because I can overcome these. They might be replaced with different weaknesses.
Do you
and
not
if
perhaps
a company
think
is convinced enough that
Why should you be given a job over someone else?
Because within my niche of gameplay programming and in communicating in different ways with people, not in approaching necessarily, but in talking about what the next step is, conversing about solving a problem, I do have enough skills or aptitude at least to be valuable to a company.
Shaky moments for Jan. But when Microsoft's UK games manager Trisha Rana takes over the questioning, can he recover his composure?
I just noticed you got awarded in January the Develop Online 30 Under 30 list. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Why do you think that is?
Because I won the Rising Star competition last year.
So you think it's just that?
I think it's the only thing that...
Do you have other merits?
that was the only thing that was in the description for the paragraph that was next to my photo.
All right, thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you very much, Jan.
Is that it? Okay. Thank you. That was tough. That was really tough. It was. At some point, it was the classical weakness and strengths question. Only instead of listing my worst weakness, I had to list 3 of them. And then afterwards, when you started asking me about my strengths, I was like, no, I don't know anything. I'm not good at anything. So it took a while to recover from that, but I think I managed to catch myself at some point.
Jan, Jack and Nick have done all they can. A life-changing opportunity to become part of one of the most passionate, creative and rewarding industries on the planet is within touching distance. Now they must wait for the judges to decide. In the next episode, another group of students enter the fray.
Well, it's a plane, so it's a plane.
This is me way back when. I'm the person you've got to watch out for.
The code test is enabled by HackerRank. Search for a Star is made possible by the support of all our partners.